So now the instrumentation bulbs are changed. We're going to have a quick look at the headlight. The headlight that's come with this kit isn't exactly a perfect fit, so we're going to need to do a little bit of a modification. And also the mounting or the retaining mechanism inside is slightly different, and so are the connections. So we need to do a little bit of extra work, but it should all still work. So we take these clips off. There's normally 3 or 4 of these clips holding the headlight in to the shroud. Okay, so what I meant by not quite as it should be. So the headlight sits, this is the top, this is the bottom. I think I can show you this on the camera. So this is the bottom and up here is the top. And on the left-hand side, there is a point where you can't get the headlight wrong. So this headlight is an original and it's held in place. So we can't mount the headlight in the wrong place. If we carefully lift that out, and we bring the new headlight in, it does have these locking pins already installed, but they're in the wrong place. And this is the bottom of the headlight. And if we drop that in there very carefully, you can see that if I take that off, this locking mechanism on the side here is in the wrong place. If we mount that as it should be, now the side light bulb is off. Remember, this is the bottom, this is the top, and when we turn the headlight over, the headlight, if this is the bottom, which you can see here, the headlight's cockeyed. But that's not really a big problem. What we're going to do, we're going to mount it in the correct place, and the kit has actually supplied some more springs. So we're going to use a total of 4 spread equally around, and that will hold the headlight completely in place. It won't move, and we don't need to worry too much about the fact that this pin or this locating pin is in the wrong place. So that's one problem which we can solve. The second one, which I need to go downstairs and change, this is the original headlight. The bulb mechanism or the bulb type we're not too worried about, because we are going to change that and fit a completely different type of bulb, but we can take that off. But the side light. So the side light on the original headlight is a push in, twist, and it comes straight out. The new headlight, let's take it out of the mounting, is a different sort. It's a more modern sort, and it's a twist, and with a bit of brute force, very carefully, it pulls out. So there's no way we can reuse this with the correct connections on in there. It's not going to work. So what I need to do is use the one that came with the headlight, this one, mounted in here, but I need to change the terminals on the end. So I'm going to go downstairs. Everybody has a different way of doing this. You can crimp quite comfortably, cut these, pull the wires back and crimp them onto here. I personally never do that. As an engineer, I wouldn't dream of doing such a thing. I want to solder them and put shrink wrap on. So I'm going to go downstairs, and in a moment, which will be a couple of seconds for you, there'll be these terminals mounted on these wires. So a few minutes later, what we've done is we've cut the terminals off of the original side light connector, and then we've soldered them onto the new side light bulb cable. Now this will now fit into the headlight, just twist. So this is ready. What we now need to do is fit the new HS1 bulb. Now this is really important. Do not get your fingers anywhere near the glass element of headlight bulbs. It will ruin them. Your fingers have dirt, in particular oil, and you must never get it on the headlight bulb. This will cause your headlight bulb to fail, so it's really important to be careful and not get your fingers on that element. And the headlight bulb is going to fit like so. It's like a Y. I think you can see that. So this should be straightforward. Which it is, and we've avoided touching the element. We've got a new rubber cover that's going to fit over the top, and this will just gently press around the bulb. As you can see, it's got top written on it, so we can't get it wrong. So we've got the headlight ready. We've got one more small obstacle. Obviously, we've just discussed what we need to do is either chop these cables off and refit them so that we can mount them on the new HS1 bulb. But actually in the kit, there came two different adapters. So this first adapter doesn't have a provision for the side light bulb. And of course this connector will fit, we can use it, so we could cut these terminals off and solder them onto here. However, there is another solution, and that is in the kit also comes this adapter. Now this also isn't quite correct, although it does have the right fitting for the HS1 bulb, and it has matching connections. This is the original one, so we have a large yellow and a male and a female black and green. So on the one that came in the kit, we've got the same one, large yellow, male and female, black and green. But what we don't need are these side light ones, because we've just made this one. So what we can actually do is very carefully take those out, and now what we're left with is the right thing that's going to work perfectly. So we've now got exactly as per the original. We've got the large yellow that's going to take 2 bayonets. We've got a female green, and we've got male black. So we don't need this at all, and we can reuse that and fit that straight on the headlight. So now we're ready to refit the headlight, the new headlight, with the 12-volt bulb, with the 12-volt side light, with the modified wiring loom, and we've now made sure that we've got the right connectors to fit on the bulb. What we need to do now is refit this into the housing. As we talked about earlier on, the mounting lugs on the side of the headlight that's come are incorrect. They don't line up correctly. So it should clip in and hold in place, but that gives us a headlight that's cockeyed. Side lights off, whoops, front of the camera, side lights off to the side. Top is now pointing here when it's in fact over this direction. So what we need to do, we know this is going to be the bottom of the headlight. We know that the side light goes at the bottom. So we're going to just drop the headlight in, align the bulb with the bracket on the bottom. And in the kit, there are three new springs. Do not be tempted to try and fit the original springs. These don't work with this type of headlight and the original chrome surround. So you need to make sure when you get your new headlight, you get 3 of these. So putting clips in front of a camera is never easy. So what we're going to show you, the clip fits underneath, and then you just gently push with your thumb, move to another position, 1/3 of the way round, like so to start with, under the edge, clip in. So then those 3 are holding that headlight. That's not going to move. We just want to make sure we've got everything level. So the lens itself, the new headlight, will have top written on it. And make sure that the O of the top is directly opposite the top mounting, and then the side light will be at the bottom. So the headlight's now ready for refitting. So let's move on to the next part. Okay, so we've got our headlight ready. We've got our instrument panel with the bulbs replaced. It's now time to start refitting everything. So we've changed the indicator bulbs, we've changed the steering lock, we're going to remount the instrument cluster, and then we're going to refit the headlight cowling and then the headlight to it, and obviously connect the cables. So I'll take some pictures. It really is just a reverse of what we've just already seen being removed. So the next part of the process, this is fairly straightforward. We're going to replace the horn, which is underneath the headlight. The horn itself is really easy. There's not much point me showing you a video how to change that. There's one bolt that holds the horn on, and on the back of the horn you've got 2 connections, so you really can't get that wrong. What I'm going to do next is then remove the fuel tank and the seat, so that we can get access to the regulator and the wiring that we need to change and the wiring we need to check. So again, there's not much point me showing you how to do that. It's really straightforward. I'll take some pictures. Let's move on. Now we've got the fuel tank off, we can easily locate the 2 things that we're going to replace. So on the left-hand side of the bike, just below the headstock, we have the voltage regulator. Now you really can't get this wrong. This only has one single yellow wire, and it's a straightforward bullet connector, and it's very easy to replace, and we can't get this one wrong. This also looks like it's been the original rectifier voltage regulator, so it's been on there a very long time. So the rectifier itself, it's really just a diode, and it's this little black thing here. It's underneath the ignition coil, so I'm not pointing to this. This is the ignition coil. What I'm pointing to, and I'll do a close-up in a second, is this little black device here. It's only about 1 inch long and about 1 centimetre wide, and it has 2 wires going to it. Let's get on and swap them over. It looks like, I don't think there's going to be enough room. We might better mount the new combined regulator rectifier here, or we might have to bolt it here, but we're going to have a quick look, take these off. Now we're working on the right-hand side of the bike. We can more clearly see this is the rectifier, a diode rectifier. Now the actual wiring on this bike is red with a green with a flash of white. The instructions for the replacement module tell us there should be a red and a white wire. So it's not exactly correct. You can figure it out quite easily. The white is going to replace the green and white, and the red is going to match with the red. Also, you can see inside here, this is where the indicator relay lives, and to get access to this we need to remove the ignition module. That's held on by only 2 10mm bolts, one at the top, one at the bottom, and this will easily move out the way so that we can replace the indicator relay. So we've removed the 2 10mm bolts that hold the ignition module on and the bracket that holds the wiring loom in place. So what you're then left with is that the ignition module can be very easily just taken out of this very small space, and then what you need to do for the indicator unit, you're going to need a screwdriver, and you're just going to very, very, very carefully, and the relay unit just comes straight out. Now this is quite a large unit. The replacement that we're going to fit, which I'll show you in a moment, is half the size. So we might need to do a bit of imaginative mounting, but let's have a look. So you can see on the right hand side, this is the new indicator relay, and it is considerably smaller and lighter than the original 6-volt one, which is fine, but the mounting mechanism that's currently on the bike, which is this one on the left, is not going to work for that one. So if we take that off, we can see that this is going to be too big. What I'm going to use is I'm going to fold the rubber strap like so, and then I'm going to use a Jubilee clip over the whole thing. There's plenty of room inside. Slight change in plan, I decided not to use the Jubilee clip, but instead to cut the excess of the rubber mount and just put a fresh cable tie on. It doesn't have to be too tight, it's really just to stop it vibrating and shaking around, and now that will fit in and it'll be much more neater. We've almost finished on the right hand side of the bike, so we've refitted the ignition module, and now the indicator relay is mounted on its vibration pad up inside, so this is fine. The next thing we need to do is mount the combined regulator rectifier. I had a look about mounting it here, not really a good idea. We're going to mount it around the other side. I've just done a quick dry fit. I've refitted the petrol tank and had a look to see how much room I've got. What I really want to do is tidy up some of the wiring. I need to check all of these connections before I reassemble, but we'll go to the other side of the bike and I'll show you where I'm going to mount it. The thing we need to pay attention to with the combined regulator rectifier, it needs a very, very, one more time, very good ground, otherwise it's not going to work efficiently. So I've got a solution on the other side. Let's go and have a look. Back working on the left-hand side of the bike. So we've removed the voltage regulator from the left-hand side up at the headstock, which is this thing here. And we've also removed the rectifier diode, which belongs underneath the ignition coil pack. Now what we have to do is fit the new combined regulator rectifier. So having a quick look round the headstock on the left-hand, right-hand side, I think the best place for this to mount is, as we've got 2 mounting points, this is an aluminium housing, so the inside is insulated or isolated completely from these terminals. So we don't have to have a ground connection where we mount this. We don't need one. But what we do need, we need a very, very, very good ground connection for this point here. So as you can probably see, I've rubbed down ever so slightly and opened up the paintwork so that we can get to the chassis, so that we have a good ground connection for this wire here. So again, just to confirm, we're going to mount it on the side, we're going to have the ground, and then we're going to feed the wires through the top of the frame. Now we've got still, I don't know whether you can just make out the yellow connection, which was the which is the voltage regulator, and we've got the rectifier terminals, the red and the green and white. So we're going to mount those on the other side of the bike. So hopefully, because we're going to mount it on the left, it's not going to be so visual. I did a quick dry fit with the tank to make sure this will work and it doesn't foul on anything, and it looks like it's going to be good. So we'll mount this and then we'll go around to the other side of the bike. So back on the right hand side of the bike, so now we have the cables, the three wires coming from the combined regulator rectifier. We've got our yellow feed, which was the original one from the original voltage regulator, and we've got our two rectifier cables. And as you can see, this should be white, but actually it's green and white, but this isn't a problem. So these will straight connect without any additional modifications. They need to be pressed in tight. Now there are two different types of connector, so you cannot get it wrong. Even though the colours are pretty obvious which to connect, there's two different types of connector, so we can't connect these wrong. So first we're going to do the red. And make sure they're pressed in all the way. And then we're going to do the white, which is going to the green and white cable. Okay, so this is finished. What we just need to do, we're going to use a couple of cable ties in a moment. We'll have a look on the other side to see where best we can cable tie them up, but we're almost finished. Fuel tanks refitted. One of the things I mentioned earlier on is as we're going round through the bike and we're looking at electrical connections, I tend to take everything apart as I go past it and have a look and make sure that the connections are good. And so far I've not really found any problems. However, we're at the stage of refitting the battery and doing a test, and these are the wires that are currently on the bike. Now, as you can see, there really isn't much point having two additional connection points that can introduce trouble when we don't need them. And then upon further inspection, this is pretty corroded. It's not terrible, but what you can see here, there's black. And when we just, it just pulls out in your hand. It's terrible connection. So this has obviously been causing a problem with the charging system for quite some time. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove these completely, chop this off, put a new terminal on and mount it directly to the battery. So it just shows you, check everywhere you go. You don't know where you're going to find electrical connection problems, and any problems, any corrosion, any bad fit or loose connection can cause you charging problems and reduce the output of your headlight. So let's move on. So as always with this sort of job, things don't always quite go to plan. So in that little video that I've just shown you, we've sort of finished. We've checked all the lights and all the lights are working fine. We've got the parking lights, the side lights, but we've got a problem with the indicators. And as you've just seen on that little clip, they initially work and they flash at the correct rate, and then they start to blink really fast. Now that is an indication. If you have that, normally it would indicate that the bulb has blown front or rear. But we know this is okay. I've checked them and we've put new bulbs in. And what I think the problem is is the original flasher relay. This was the 6-volt one, the quite large one that we changed earlier on. This is quite a manly piece of kit, and this is able to deal with a fluctuation of voltages. However, the part that we fitted earlier on was a little tiny small one, which is supposed to be 12 volts, and it's just not up to it. It can't cope with the fluctuation of the voltage, and what it leads to is an overheating inside, and then the relay fails to flash the indicators at the correct rate. So we did a quick bit of research online, and what we're going to fit is a combined LED normal bulb indicator relay. I'll put details up on a part number of this. It's a little tiny device. It's got a very wide operating range in terms of voltage, which is very important for this job because the DC voltage, now we're converting the generated AC power to DC via that combined module we fitted on the side. And then that is regulated in terms of voltage to under 15 volts. So it should be 12 or 12.5 to 13.5, but it's fluctuating up and down, which is fine for the headlight bulbs and the indicators and the instrumentation lights. However, it's not good for the relay. So we're going to fit this little device. We're going to do a close-up and I'm going to show you how you install it, and this should fix your problem. So if you're doing this conversion, and we'll find out in a minute if this works, I think it's probably worth not ordering one of the original 12-volt relays and ordering a proper one that's going to not give you this problem. So just to confirm, if you have your indicators that are flashing really fast after between 10 and 15 seconds of normal operation, after you've done this conversion, it's the relay that's the problem. There's nothing else that you've done wrong. It's just the relay can't cope. So let's get the seat and the tank off and let's fit the new module.